All that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. When she gets there, she knows if the stores are all closed, with a word she can get what she came for. She's buying a stairway to heaven. There's a sign on the wall, but she wants to be sure, 'cause you know sometimes words have two meanings. In a tree by the brook, there's a songbird who sings. Sometimes all of our thoughts are misgiven. There's a feeling I get when I look to the west, and my spirit is crying for leaving. In my thoughts I have seen rings of smoke through the trees, and the voices of those who stand looking. Soon, if we all call the tune, then the piper will lead us to reason, and a new day will dawn for those who stand long, and the forests will echo with laughter. In the long run, and there's still time to change the road you're on. And it makes me wonder,
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the episode today, or the show. I am your host, Mr. San Andreas, here with you on Mradio for the next hour, and that was just Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, an absolute classic that you just have to love, don't you? Either way, welcome to show 19. It's kind of the second show of the year, I believe, or the third show. I've already lost count. We're not even a month into the year. It's kind of crazy. How fast these first few days have went ever since Christmas has ended. But here we are. If you haven't already, make sure to check out all the Mradio social medias, Instagram and Twitter at only Mradio, and Twitch and YouTube at Mradio. For the next hour, I'm your host, Mr. San Andreas, here talking about everything games. But don't worry if games isn't your forte. We do have more shows throughout the week. Later on tonight, we have SX Brando with SX Beats, and we have Mark on the radio later on in the week as well. Either way, we're going to start off the show as we do every single week with games I've played this week. The classic section of the show. Everybody loves it, Everybody gets involved. So we basically just talk about the games we've played this week, or I've played, and you guys sometimes share the games you've played. We compare, we contrast, and to start off this week, I managed to finish Firewatch. I think it was about 2 days ago, and oh my god. How would I describe Firewatch? I'd describe it as a modern masterpiece, and not for the fact that it's exactly like Red Dead Redemption, and not for the fact that it's it's won thousands of Game Awards, because it hasn't done either of those things. One thing I just really like about it is it's not like a lot of games these days with major corporations and everything is money driven. Like, can we make a profit off this? With Firewatch, it's really just based around the story, and it's not like a story dimmed down either. It's a story about the humanizing, the choices that adults make in certain times. The choices, how they might decide to keep some things secret, how they might do some drastic things, and how sometimes they can be, conserved or aggressive. And it kind of really talks about a lot of different issues and the choices that adults make. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful game. And if you're anyway inclined to love a good story game, I would definitely recommend Firewatch to you, because it's I haven't even played 6 hours on it, so it'll take up less than 90% of the games you probably play, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. And as always, I played a little bit of Grand Theft Auto 5 this week and some 5M. We had a meeting in RP, so I had to attend that, streaming over on twitch.tv/80%honest. Either way, those are the 2 games I've played this week. Not been playing too many games, but I promise next week we're playing some more games. Okay, I promise. Well, I did play actually Battlefront 2 this week, and we have some news stories in Battlefront 2 later on in the show. And Battlefront 2 is given away free by Epic this week. I didn't get mine through Epic. I've been I guess you'd call me a vet of Battlefront 2. I've been doing it for a while now, ever since 2017. A good game, very enjoyable, so forth. Anyway, going on to the kind of first, not news yet, okay? It's not that time in the evening yet, okay? Calm down. Today we're going to start off with a question. We do this every once in a while. It keeps us occupied, keeps me talking, Sometimes I can't not talk, enough. But the question I wanted to ask is, do games want to be too much these days? And I ask this because there's going to be a little bit of Cyberpunk news later on in the show, and that's mainly bad, so don't get your hopes up. CD Projekt Red have not fixed that game yet. The question I kind of wanted to ask this, the reason I wanted to ask this question is for the simple fact that I was looking at a video on Cyberpunk, and there was, going back 5 months ago, CD Projekt Red described Cyberpunk 2077 as a role-playing game. It's a role-playing game, and now they're describing it as an action-adventure game. And it kind of it sparked something in my mind. It sparked the question: is, are corporations, are video game developers, are they trying to be too much with their games these days, and they're really losing the core identity of what they're trying to create? And listen, I'm going to put it out there right now. For what Cyberpunk 2077 is, it's a good game, okay? It's a good concept. The thing is, it's riddled with bugs, okay? You don't take a pizza out of the oven before it's cooked. And if you do, you're going to have a very bad experience with pizza. It's probably going to make you want to not eat a pizza for a few more years. Of course, after you go to the hospital after eating a raw pizza. But besides from the fact that you don't take a pizza out of the oven before it's baked, and I really believe that's what Cyberpunk 2077 have done here. And not because, they're dumb, because they're not by any chance. They're an extremely talented team, and that's been seen through the work they have done with Cyberpunk and through the work they've done in previous games, hence The Witcher. But the thing I really think about Cyberpunk 2077, and I saw it in Watch Dogs Legion as well, it's taking a pizza out of the oven before it's cooked, and you gotta leave it in there for a while, okay? You gotta make sure it's crisp, even if you're not the crisp kind of guy, sometimes you might want a soft pizza. But the simple fact is, if you take the pizza out too soon, it's going to be riddled with bugs, okay, and glitches and lags, and then you're going to be expected in like a week to release a huge update fixing all this. And by that time, you've already had half the player base gone. You're like, no, I don't want to deal with this, okay? You pay $60 for a game, you expect the $60 worth of a game, okay? You pay for what you get. And I feel like that's what turned a lot of people off. And now Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red are facing lawsuits because, they're... and they released the game with too many bugs. And it's a kind of a strategy you see Bethesda do every once in a while. They did it with Fallout 76. They hyped up the game until it was about as hyped as the moon landing, okay? This isn't me exaggerating. It was probably more hyped than the moon landing, definitely. And then they released someone... It's a crock. It's a crock of something. I'll leave the second word up to you. But it's a crock of something anyway. And then they kind of built it up from there. They released update after update after update, fixing the game. So you're paying $60 for a game, £60, 60 euro, whatever your currency is, and you're not actually getting a full game. You're getting parts of a full game, and sometimes they make you pay for those parts as well. You pay for parts of the game you've already paid for. So it's quite an odd way of going about things. I've got very deep about this conversation, but going back to the main question, is do games want to be too much these days? Personally, yes, I do think games want to be too much these days. Sometimes games want to be action adventure shooters, and then sometimes they want the player to have the choice. They don't want to. They want the player to make choices and influence the story. And the simple fact is, you can either take route A or you can take route B. But see, what a lot of companies seem to be doing is they seem to be creating a second letter in between A and B. Like just throwing a letter in there, and not just gently pushing it. They're shoving it in. They're aggressively shoving it in, and it doesn't work. Okay, you can't. There's no going on the fence with these things. You're either on road A, which is a very well told adventure. Where everything's already planned out, everything's set, and you just need to go to a certain location to trigger it. And then route B is where the player makes all the choices, which is a much more kind of popular concept these days, with a concept that is never executed, or if rarely ever executed properly, which is where the player makes the choices, and the choices always lead to a different route, which is an extremely hard thing to do, yet companies still think they can do it. And I just feel like companies are trying to do too much these days. They're sitting on the fence saying, we want to do that, but we want to do this. When you're playing a chess game, you don't take out checkers. Either way, if you guys have any opinions about that, feel free to share it in our Discord or tag us in a Twitter post sharing your opinion. Either way, on to the first piece of news. The news that's probably going to be surrounding everyone's mind this week is Hitman 3 is coming out, I believe, on the 23rd. And it's exclusive on Epic Games. That's, of course, on PC and console. It's not exclusive to either console. But on PC, it's exclusive to Epic Games. And Hitman 3 is a very long-awaited thing. The Hitman trilogy, especially the new one, has been very, very popular with a lot of people. And Hitman 3 looks set up to be another success. Personally, Hitman 2 wasn't my cup of tea. I did quite like a lot of the levels in there. I just didn't like the way the cutscenes were done, where the cutscenes were done in pictures. Call me old-fashioned and fussy, but I kind of like the fluency, through kind of telling a story, and I felt like there was no emphasis on telling a story in Hitman 2. It was more of, showing pictures and then set off to, do your own thing in the levels. Now, saying that, the level design is always extremely good, and I say that with, extremely good in Hitman games. I don't think there's ever been a Hitman game that I haven't, thoroughly enjoyed, because it's always good. And besides that, it's Hitman 3. I'm excited for it. It's going to be good. It's going to be fantastic. And it's exclusive on Epic Games. And we have more news on Hitman 3 actually later on in the day. Either way, man, offers local authorities 50 million to help find his hopeless quest for lost Bitcoin fortune. So this might have been, you might have heard about this, but a man lost like 200 and something million on a USB or some sort of device he had in a trash fill. I think someone threw it out by accident, and he's trying to find it now, and he's offering local authorities 50 million in his quest for finding it. It's 7,500 in Bitcoin, and it's worth quite a lot now, and it's a trash fill somewhere. So good luck to that man, but luck's not what you need. You need a miracle. Either way, going on to our good old friends at Epic Legends. I haven't said that name in so long. Epic Legends. I have not said that name in about a year. I swear it's been a year. I forgot how to say it. That's how long it's been. And they've introduced a new hero called Fuse. I'm going to give you like 10 seconds to figure out what Fuse's purpose is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Didn't need 10 seconds. He's an Aussie hothead with a killer mustache. That's right. Epics just sounds so wrong. Can I just revert? Can we go woo? Let's just press the reverse button on that one, because that does not sound right. But anyway, they added an Aussie hothead with a killer mustache, so we'll be looking forward to hearing his dialogue in an Australian accent. Hopefully it won't be too vulgar. Anyway, as I said, we'll be covering some more Hitman news in today's show, and here it is. The owners of Hitman 2 on PC will get its levels free in Hitman 3 after all. Now, there is kind of a little bit of debate over this and whether people who owned Hitman 2 would be getting the free levels in Hitman 3 if they bought it. Because the way IO Interactive do it is once you buy the new game, if you own the old game, you'd still get all those levels back there. And that was actually, people didn't think that was going to be happening in Hitman 3. But it did, so that was good. That was very, very good. And IO Interactive have sorted it out now. You're able to get to levels. It's all good. It's all Gucci. Everyone's happy. all big smiles. All huge smiles over here. So the first part of our Cyberpunk news today is good. Okay, it's good. Let's start off with a smile. Everyone's smiling. I hope everyone's smiling. I can't see you since, I'm on the radio, and you can't see me since I'm on the radio. So let's just have some good faith here and presume everyone's smiling. What does an architect think of Cyberpunk 2077's Night City? So an architect reviewed Cyberpunk 2077's map and city that was built, and it's called Night City. Now, one of the standing points of Cyberpunk when it was first announced was the city. Everyone's going like, oh my god, the level design, it's so freaking crazy. I said freaking. Okay, I said freaking just to clear that up. And everyone was like, yeah, that's so good. And then when the reviews came out, everyone was like, oh, it's so good. Everything's good. Everything's good. Okay, it's beyond good. It's fantastic. It's looking amazing. And personally, I have to say, I quite like Night City. The concept of Night City, the keyword concept there, because at the end of the day, that's all it is. Besides, once you get over the glitches, and the bugs, Night City can be quite the place to tour. But with them, it's I'd like to say a city out of hell might be the best way to describe it. Yeah, a city out of hell. Let's go with that. And one of the things that Architect picked up when he wasn't obviously getting harassed by bugs was that the buildings were built to dehumanize. Now, Night City, it's not like a normal city. Okay, it's not like the city that I'm like looking at right now outside my window. It's a city that's owned by corporations, and that I guess you could call them street rats live below. And that's all they'll ever do is they'll live below. Their kids will live below. Their grandkids will live below. And their grandkids, even if they'd survive, they might be lucky enough to live below. And then the corporations are always at top. So you'll see a common kind of trend in all the buildings. And the buildings are built to dehumanize those people. And I guess V's adventure, who's the protagonist in the story, is to tear that all down. Literally, that's what Keanu Reeves says. We got a city to tear down. I believe he used another word on top of that, but we can't say that at this time on the radio. So that's the one thing he did notice. And besides from the bugs and glitches, just want to make that evidently clear, the city is very well designed. And although they talked about NPC scheduling, so not NPCs that are automatically only triggered in because of the protagonist, it's NPCs that will always be there and have like certain purposes. And I've never seen this successfully done in a video game besides from Red Dead Redemption 2 and obviously Grand Theft Auto games. I thought the way that Ubisoft done it in Watch Dogs Legion was quite fascinating because they did have NPC scheduling, and NPC scheduling is becoming a lot more popular in games these days, but it's very rare that you get to see it done properly. And that's the sad thing. And I was looking at a video today. It was a 41-minute video, so obviously a lot of free time. Not true, but I had it going in the background, and I was looking at the NPCs. Some person had filmed the NPCs, like they didn't kind of go about their business, because usually you wouldn't stop and look at an NPC for 20 minutes because they're not that interesting, okay? But this person did, and you got to see how the NPC scheduling works, and it turns out that CD Projekt Red thinks that all people do during the day is walk in circles, because you'd see an NPC walking from one traffic light to another and then walking back to the traffic light they were originally at. And if that's the definition of NPC scheduling and what CD Projekt Red thinks people do on a daily basis, well, wow. Wow on that one. I know a few people who could possibly argue that's not all we do every day, but if CD Projekt Red says that, it's hard to debate. At the end of the day, you got to look at the concept of Night City. It is a fantastic concept to have that kind of futuristic 70s, 80s vibe put in a city that, the earth is being destroyed by corporations, and really, you got the street rats and then you got the 1%. And it's a very interesting concept, but I think at the end of the day, that's all it will ever be, is an interesting concept, because the sheer amount of bugs, I don't even know if it's fixable. That's really what you got there, because you got something out of our time, something that would change the market. And whether it's even achievable was one of the first questions that came to my mind when I heard it. After, of course, I was shocked. Obviously I had that five minutes that I was in pure shock after hearing of such a project, and then I started to question things. But Night City, it's a very, very beautiful city when it is working, but at the end of the day, I think it will really stay more of a concept more than anything else of truly being perfected, and trying to live up to the standards of Rockstar in their level design is nearly crazy, to be honest. It's nearly crazy. Either way, going on to the last question before we take a tad little music break, is after Star Wars Battlefront 2 was given away by Epic Games for free, the servers crashed. So another attempt at EA trying to boost the player servers in Star Wars Battlefront 2, and I'm fully in favor of that, because I need some more people to play against. But the servers did crash, so that was an oopsie on EA's part. Either way, we're going to be taking a quick music break. If you've enjoyed the show so far, make sure to check out all the Mradio social medias. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Only Mradio, and YouTube and Twitch at Mradio. We'll be right back after this music break. Next up, Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA.
Born down in a dead man's town, the the rumble. I ain't got nothing to lose. Hey, I've been fighting these hard times in the ghettos of my mind. Now it's victory that I choose. Hey, yes, my soul is blessed. The king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad, bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown and thorn is destined. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend, legend. Like a bull in a glass house. No bull about to smash out. Can't nothing stand in my way. I don't care what the place is, from the penthouse to pavement. You better hear what I say. Hey, yeah. Yes, my soul is blessed. The king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad, bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown and thorn is destined. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend, legend, legend. Boy, yeah, I told you before. Yeah, a king is born. Been broke before, but I've never been broken. I told you before. I am the truth now. The truth has spoken. A king is born.
Oh, she's sweet but a psycho, a little bit psycho. At night she's screaming, I'm on my mind. Oh, she's hot but a psycho, so left but she's right though. At night she's screaming, I'm on my mind. She'll make you curse, but she a blessing. She'll rip your shirt within a second. You'll be coming back for seconds with your play. You just can't help it. No, you'll play along. Let her lead you on. You'll be saying no, then saying yes, yes, yes. 'Cause you're messing with your head. Oh, she's sweet but a psycho, a little bit psycho. At night she's screaming, my mind. Oh, she's hot but a psycho, so left but she's right though. At night she's screaming, my mind. Grab a gun, kinda crazy. She's poison but tasty. And people say run, don't walk away. Yeah, she's sweet but a poison but tasty. And people say, run, don't walk away. She's sweet but a psycho, a little bit psycho. At night she's screaming, my mind.
That is Sweet But Psycho with Ava Max. Welcome back, everybody, from the break. I'm your host, Mr. San Andres, and if you're just joining us, make sure to follow all the social medias for Mradio. That's Instagram and Twitter at Mradio, and Twitch at YouTube at Mradio. We're on episode 19. We have a lot of news to cover. We only have 20 minutes left. So, on to the very, very next piece of news, which is Cloud Climber, a game you might never have heard of, but it's a free walking sim about exploring surreal towers. So you walk all the way up to towers, and, you look around. It's a nice viewing game. So if you're into walking, but not in real life, you want to play a video game about walking, Cloud Climber. It just kind of amazes me how, like, people just make video games about, like, simple stuff like construction simulator and walking simulator. Like, wouldn't that just be as handy to do it in real life? But no, let's make a simulator. That's not to say I did enjoy construction simulator very, very much. So thank you for whichever mobile game developer made that one. So back on to the bad news of Cyberpunk. We said they had good news, and now we're having bad news. And the bad news is, or well, one of the bad news, part one is, Cyberpunk 2070 staff knew how bad the bugs were before launch, reports confirms. So staff knew about how Cyberpunk was before launch, and still they did nothing about it. So you gotta. I don't know about that. Okay, I don't know about that one. If I was like, when you're put in that position, I don't know if there's really anything that you can really do at that point, because your bosses, it's like betraying your bosses. It's like saying, I'm just gonna go against my bosses, probably lose my job, all for the sake of letting the community know that it isn't ready or it isn't up to scratch, because there's no way you could ever describe how bad it is, but with bugs wise, I still want to clarify that Cyberpunk, it is a good game, just has a lot of bugs in it, okay? Well, on consoles, on PC, if you have it on PC, you're doing good. Consoles, good luck playing that game. But yeah, I don't really know what you could really do about that, because I don't want the staff to come across as bad guys here, because they're not at the end of the day, and they can't really go against their boss. If they go against their boss, they lose their job, and a lot of people depend on their jobs, especially this time of the year. Either way, going on to our next, good old Nick Cage. Anyone remember Nicolas Cage from when he was an A-class movie star? Well, his next movie is a blatant Five Nights at Freddy's ripoff. It is called Willy's Wonderland, and I'm not even going to question that. I haven't even watched the trailer yet. Okay, I saw Nicolas Cage with sunglasses on, and I was like, here comes a classic. Nicolas Cage, he's turned into a full-blown meme at this point. It's kind of hard to take Nick Cage seriously. I suppose in one sense he did screw up his own career by not paying taxes. Like, that one's on you, buddy. I don't know who you were. Not paying taxes nearly always ends bad unless you're in some loophole that works, for definite, which is what a lot of Spanish footballers do. Lionel Messi done it, Ronaldo done it, Ramos done it, Alonso done it. But that's because the Spanish tax system is it's kind of a joke in one sense. But let's not get into that. Okay, let's try to stick away from that. That's. We'll debate that another day. Okay, we'll debate that another day. Tune in next week for my opinion on that. But Nicolas Cage, he has a new movie out, and I don't really know what to think. I don't know what you're doing with Willy Wonderland. My first thought when I heard that was, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. You can't make a movie with the title Willy in it and not instantly think of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. They've already made two hugely successful movies with Willy Wonka. I don't know what you're going to do, name another movie Willy Wonka. I don't think it's even Willy Wonderland. Even the title's kind of deceitful. You're in a Wonderland, Chocolate Factory's Wonderland. I don't know what they're trying to do, okay? I don't even know what the movie's about. And it's probably something to do with or around Five Nights at Freddy's. Even at that, I don't think Five Nights at Freddy's is even enough to turn into a video game itself. It's not hugely popular. It is popular, but it's not enough to launch a video game off. It's not Hitman popular, Anyway, moving away from Nicolas Cage's adventures as Nicolas Cage, we're going on to Epic Games, yay! And they are still in a legal battle with Apple and Google. Okay, now there's two big boys in the pond going against Epic Games, and now the battle comes to UK. So the battleground has been set, the swords are ready, the guns are loaded, and UK is the destination for Apple and Google versus Epic Games. I put it up like it's the season finale of something popular, Game of Thrones. I totally forgot Game of Thrones there for a second. I was trying to think of it. It wouldn't come off the top of my tongue. Now I can't even say words properly, but if you're interested in Epic Games and the legal battle that is going to be happening with Apple and Google, it is coming to the UK. You cannot go there to spectate. I want to make that 100% clear, but you can look it up on Google. And that's funny. Google are battling Epic, and you can look it up on Google, so you know, maybe a little bit of a biased opinion there. But going on to the great and ever-growing Ubisoft, Ghost Recon Breakpoint is crossing over with Rainbow Six Siege later this month. So the collaboration nobody asked for is finally happening. Ghost Recon Breakpoint, what an odd game. You know, it was very, very hyped up, and I managed to get a few hours in it. I never bought the game because, you know, I'm at that time I'd already spent money. You know, I had that phase where I spent money in video games. I'm getting out of that now, and you know, I don't spend money in video games anymore. Some people would say I'm losing my aura around, you know, as being a gamer, if that's a term that is still broadly used. But generally, there's better things to spend money on than having a crossover with Rainbow Six Siege. You know, I think I bought Rainbow Six Siege for the PlayStation 4, but I never fell in love with it. You know, I feel like it's a game that you're either competitive at or you don't enjoy it. Or it's good to have a playthrough with your friend every once in a while. But two games that it weren't really my cup of tea. You know, they're going together. So if you're interested in that, well, you know, look forward to it later this month, which is January. But if you're not, well, take it or leave it at this point. Talking about Take-Two Interactive gives up its attempted acquisition of Codemasters for nearly $1 billion. So, you know, there's a lot of books on the table there. But then EA walked in, they said, listen, we want some of this cheddar, okay? We're looking to screw up another franchise, aka the F1 franchise. So you tell you what, Codemasters, give us that franchise right there, and we'll screw it up. We'll put loads of microtransactions through it. And anyway, you know, so Take-Two Interactive have got the acquisition of Codemasters because, you know, bargaining with EA, I haven't done it personally for a number of reasons. Probably one of the main ones being that I'm not a billionaire, but I can imagine it's not enjoyable. So leaving EA basically to take the wheel and ruin another sports franchise, which I'm actually sad about that because I did enjoy the F1. You know, I enjoyed F1. 2019, I believe there's a 2020, and I enjoyed that as well. I had it on Steam for about 10 hours, and yeah, I'm just really sad because now that's going to be filled with microtransactions. To turn the wheel, we're going to have to pay $4.99. So EA, thank you once again, coming in, ruining another game for us. I appreciate that one, EA. Whoever the hell is at the head of your wheel now, probably some devil, I don't know. CD Projekt Red apologizes for Cyberpunk 2077 once again, and the new update roadmap pushes back DLC so that the game can be fixed. And that the co-founder of it came out and said they underestimated the Cyberpunk 2077 optimization on consoles. So yeah, they came out to say what we already knew, basically. Probably the worst news about this is the DLC is going to be pushing back. We heard that early 2021, like Q1, we'd be getting a DLC, story DLC, for free. You know, how kind of them to give us something free. And now that's going to be pushed back for some updates, you know, to fixes. So that's sad, but, you know, it's probably needed, you know, or else they're going to get sued. So that's, you know, for falsifying, you know, what they're selling. Either way, going on to another fantastic company, Bethesda. And Bethesda did release about 6-7 days ago that it's making an Indiana Jones game. And it will not impact the progress in Starfield or Elder Scrolls 6, you know, two highly anticipated games. Well, Elder Scrolls 6 kind of is. But Starfield, this is my first time hearing about that. And now, I want to share my opinion on Indiana Jones. I grew up with Indiana Jones. Okay, watching Harrison Ford going from temple to temple. That was my childhood right there. Okay. Every Christmas, Indiana Jones would come on the TV. You know, you sit down. It's midday. You never sit down in the living room in midday. You know, I don't do that. I don't like it. I might sit down for like 2 minutes when I'm waiting for something out of the kitchen. But besides from that, I don't sit down during midday. But for Indiana Jones, you'd sit down midday and you'd watch it. For the simple fact it's Indiana Jones. Okay, who wouldn't want to see Harrison Ford whipping a gun at a bad guy's hand with his whip? Okay, it's every child's dream. And now Bethesda have decided that they want to capitalize on this dream, you know, like game studios do. They see something doing well and they're like, yes, we do want to ruin that. And no, I'm not going to be too nasty. You know, usually I'm quite nasty when people try, you know, recreate stuff. But I'm personally not too enthusiastic about the idea of Indiana Jones becoming a game. For the simple fact, I don't think it's meant to be a game. Okay, they did it with the Lego series, you know. Lego Indiana Jones, decent enough, you know. And once again, Lego games. I think I have a Lego City Cop Undercover actually up above me on PS4. That is a classic, and if anyone tries to tell me different, I shall lose my marbles. But the simple fact is, I don't think Indiana Jones should be a game, for the simple fact that it's a movie. We saw in 2008 with the Shia LaBeouf and Harrison Ford movie. I can't remember, I think it was like the Tomb Raiders. I don't remember the exact name of the movie that came out in 2008, but I know Shia LaBeouf and Harrison Ford. I love saying Shia LaBeouf. I don't know why. Okay, what can I say? I'm a simple-minded man. The small things in life, like saying Shia LaBeouf, bring me pleasure. But, you know, what can I say? That movie didn't turn out well. For the simple fact that I don't think Indiana Jones is meant to be modernized. You know, it's meant to be something that you can look back on and you can say, wow. Like, for that time, some of the stuff they were doing was fantastic. Classic good guy, you know, and just doing what he was doing. You know, getting captured, not being too strong, but strong enough to get out of the situations he found himself in, saving the world, getting relics, returning them to you know, a museum, and then going back to his life as a history teacher. And the adventures he got on were just so cool. But I don't think that's meant to be modernized. Because nowadays, if a movie doesn't have an awesome adventure with like 10 million put into CGI effects, well then it's not a proper movie. You know, you look at all the movies these days. Have you been through a movie lately that doesn't have an explosion or some kind of huge adventure on it? You know, have you? Can you really say? I know I haven't seen a movie lately that doesn't include some sort of explosion, whether that be a simple fart or whether that be, you know, a building blowing up. It's very rare these days, you know, it's the stereotypical thing, but back then, you know, it was something special, you know, and the writing of the movies and the level design, it was all perfected, you know, and it's a good movie, and it's an interesting movie, and I don't really feel like that's meant to be put into a game, you know. I don't think we're meant to control Indiana Jones. I think in the end, the whole idea of Indiana Jones is, you know, being himself and doing what he wants to do. But either way, I'm excited to see how it'll turn out. I kind of already know how it'll turn out, but, you know, I'll give you a go, Bethesda. You know, you have screwed up multiple times in the past. Fallout 76, sorry, huge cough right there. Didn't mean to cough directly into the mic saying Fallout 76. But listen, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Bethesda. You know, make me and millions of other people happy with making a decent Indiana Jones game. Because Indiana Jones, it's in the heart, everybody. Okay, folks? It's in the heart. Okay, so don't screw this up. Moving on to someone else who is prone to screwing up games, EA Games. We recently talked about them and, you know, and them wanting to get Codemasters. Now EA, you know, they're the typical bad guys in the game industry. I like to stick up for EA every once in a while for the simple fact that I like to have a little bit of hope every once in a while. Now, more or less of the time, you know, my hope gets shredded in a shredder, you know, like Peter in Deadpool 2. But I still like to have hope. You know, EA were once a thriving gaming developer in the early 2000s and had multiple good games before they realized the concept of money and decided that good games was no longer the priority. And EA is still making Star Wars games. So more Star Wars games are in the mix. Now, Star Wars games recently have had a glimmer of hope. Would you believe it? Hope and EA in the same sentence. Yes, it's true. It's not fake news. Keemstar isn't here with us today. EA had, well, they didn't, it wasn't specifically them, but the company they owned done it. So technically it was EA, but they had Jedi Fallen Order and they had Star Wars Battlefront 2, which started off rocky, but it got there. Okay, it got there. The important thing is not where it started, but where it is. That, don't take that out of context, but that's what matters. And EA still are making Star Wars games. There's multiple projects ahead. The specific word here was a number of projects, star quote, end quote. And whether they pay off, I don't know. I can't say with certainty right now that they're going to be good, because some games EA makes are masterpieces and some are just, plain old sad. Just, kind of puddles of rain, But either way, I'm gonna throw the word in there again. Hope. Okay, the 4-letter word, the word that is one of the most dangerous words in the gaming industry is having hope. I'm gonna have a little bit of hope. Star Wars games, once again, another Indiana Jones, Star Wars, two things I grew up with. My early childhood, I got a lot of stuff with Star Wars on, because Star Wars was like the thing, and I enjoyed it. And it'll be good to play a decent Star Wars game. Okay, I'm not asking for Red Dead Redemption quality here. Okay, I'm not asking for a game of the year. I'm just asking for a decent game. I don't think for the money you get paid, I don't think that's a big request. Either way, moving on to some lighthearted news. Steam had 120 million monthly users in 2020. So can we have our hats off to Steam here? Once again, beating Epic Games to the game. And Steam had 120 million monthly users, so 120 million people logged into Steam and used it. So that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Congratulations, Steam, from the whole Mradio staff team. And moving on to more Star Wars news, actually. Ubisoft, the creators of the Far Cry series and the Watch Dogs series, and would you believe it, the Assassin's Creed series, they are working on an open world Star Wars game. It has been confirmed. Ubisoft, the deal for Star Wars games was actually handed over to EA, but now Lucasfilms has got back into the mix. It's leaving it open. So the deal's open. So any company that wants to make a Star Wars game, go ahead, shoot, do it. I dare you. I dare you. And Ubisoft has decided to take Lucasfilms up on this offer, and they are now making an open world Star Wars game. Now, the thing to realize here, even though it is confirmed, it could be cancelled. Okay, and that's what has happened in the past. That games have went away and have been confirmed for Star Wars, and they've just been cancelled. So hopefully that won't happen again. Whether it does, whether it doesn't, that's entirely up to Ubisoft. Either way, going on to Twitch, we're running a little bit short on time here, but we don't mind if we go over. So Twitch recently removed the PogChamp emote, which was a very unpopular move. But Twitch's new PogChamp rotation results ends in racist and harassment and threats. So racist harassments and threats. I can't say it for some reason, but I got it out in the end. And basically what Twitch have done, because they realized the backlash from taking away the PogChamp emote, because it's very popular. It's a way of expressing yourself and your laughter. And they decided, hey, why don't we just rotate it every 24 hours instead of having a set one to, relieve us of the problems? Because for some reason, Twitch just love to deal with problems. They're like, we don't enjoy anything more in the world than having problems and people yelling at us. So when they chose the new kind of PogChamp emote for the first 24 hours, was Omega Critical Bar Jones. Critical Bar is his Twitch name. And he was selected as the day's PogChamp. And usually this is a great honor, you're on the front page of Twitch, that's a great exposure. But instead he was greeted with abuse and death threats. Yes, death threats for being nothing but an emote. Now, not only is this extremely immature of the Twitch community, but I believe part of the blame here has to lie on Twitch as well for deciding to do the 24-hour rotation thing. I mean, in your head, it probably sounded great. You're like, oh my god, we'll get some community streamers in, we'll do this, it'll be totally biased, and it'll be really a cool thing to get the community involvement. But at the end of the day, it was always going to end up like this, and it's kind of sad that it's come to this point where this streamer, this harmless streamer who works as streaming for a living, has faced this, and we don't know what kind of effect it's had on them, and it's absolutely a horrible thing to even think of. So I think in the end this was inevitable, like Thanos says. Only it really, really was inevitable that this would happen. And hopefully Twitch will have some more cop on in the future and decide to go a more, a better route and select an emote that isn't going to cause a lot of harm. Maybe have a community vote on it if you want to involve the community about what emote you think should be the new PogChamp emote, because it was actually taken down because the guy who was the PogChamp emote, it was proven that he had autism, I think it was autism, yes, and they felt out of respect, they had to take it down. So maybe find an emote this time that doesn't offend anyone, and doesn't cause everyone to go into huge death threats. And I believe that's the best course of action for Twitch right now, because what's going on is absolute shambles. Either way, more than 2 billion tweets about video games were posted in 2020, which is a staggering amount compared to the 2019 numbers. I'm not too sure how many were posted in 2019, but it's a staggering amount more in 2020. So 2 million tweets about video games were done in 2020. So keep on going. Gaming industry keeps on getting bigger and bigger every year. And to finish us off for today's little show, episode 19, one more episode until 20. The Sims 4 is getting a paranormal pack just in time for 3 months after Halloween. So, another masterclass here by EA. You got to give them credit where credit's due. Releasing a paranormal pack 3 months after Halloween, yes. Not 4, not 2, 3. Understandable, maybe a week, but 3 months EA. So you have to logically think, if it's been 3 months, it has to be fantastic. But don't get your hopes up on that one. Okay, I haven't used it yet, nor do I plan on using it yet. But hey, stay a little bit of hope. Have a little bit of hope. Either way, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. If you did learn something new, make sure to suggest the website and the radio to your friends. Either way, I've been your host, Mr. San Andres, and it has been my pleasure for the last hour and 1 minute sitting here being hosting and talking about my favorite video game news for this week. Anyway, I hope you have a very, very good day, and if you haven't already, make sure to go check out all the Mradio social medias, Instagram and Twitter at the Only Mradio, and YouTube and Twitch at Mradio. And if you haven't already, make sure to join our Discord, which you will be able to see on our website. Either way, guys, stay safe, and that's probably about it. Good luck, everybody.